Every year on this evening of remembrance, we solemnly mark Holocaust Memorial Day here in Dublin. We remember 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators. And we remember other persecuted minorities who were victims of Nazi atrocities. This evening's commemoration provides us with an opportunity to cherish the memory of those who perished and to reflect on the consequences of the Holocaust.
We remember the many millions of Jewish people who were victims of a systematic genocide, and all those who were persecuted and murdered because of their ethnicity, their religious beliefs, their political affiliations, their sexual orientation, and those who were murdered because of disability and age. So while the passage of time can serve to dilute the lessons of history, it can also weaken our collective memory and desensitize us to the very real horrors of war and genocide. And that is why this commemoration is so important. The Jewish people were declared to be inferior and an active threat to the German race, its society and culture. The Nazi government after 1933 began to regulate the public and private life of Jewish people. It singled them out and marked them as other, as inferior, as not one of us. It united a country in hatred against people who were citizens of that country. It spread hatred and war throughout Europe, and it destroyed Jewish communities in every country it invaded. The work of the Trust with schools and young people is of immense value. It engages with young students through the Crocus Project and the Holocaust narrative. It provides training to teachers on how best to teach the story of the Holocaust, and it reinforces the Holocaust as an important part of our history as Irish people and as Europeans.
It is estimated that more than 1 million Jews died in the ghettos, which were created in every country occupied by the Germans. They were established in poor and run-down areas of cities and large towns, with little sanitation, chronic overcrowding, and starvation rations. Ghettos were usually located close to railways and often near killing sites or death camps. Many ghettos were walled in or fenced off, and Jews who left them without permission were severely punished. The cruelty, starvation, overcrowding, and disease all contributed to the death toll. Although there are heroic stories of resistance, most of the ghetto population were murdered and there were few survivors.
The fence was finished and nobody can go out or come in, and on every house they've posted a notice which tells exactly what we are allowed to do. Actually, everything is forbidden, but the most awful thing is that the punishment for everything is death. It doesn't actually say that this punishment also applies to children, but I think it does apply to us too.
An order was issued that from now on Jews have to wear a yellow star-shaped patch. The order tells exactly how big the star patch must be and that it must be sewn on every outer garment, jacket or coat. This badge of shame was the Star of David, on which the word Jew was written.
There were thousands of concentration camps, slave labor camps, and transit camps throughout the territories of the Third Reich and in occupied Europe. Jews and others incarcerated in these camps were worked or beaten to death. They also perished from brutality, exhaustion, cold, hunger, and disease. 6 death camps were established by the Nazis, all of them on Polish soil, where approximately 3 million Jews and thousands of other victims were murdered in gas chambers. Prisoners were selected to live or to die. 90% were selected for death. They were ushered into undressing areas where they were told to leave their clothes neatly on the numbered pegs and to tie their shoes together to make them easier to find when they came back from the showers. They never came back. Their clothing, shoes, and personal belongings were sorted and later sold in markets back in Germany or distributed by the Nazis to German families considered to be in need. Human hair was used in the manufacture of textiles, notably for military blankets. This systematic industrial process of murder was unprecedented in human history.
As evening came, the whole sky was red. Smoke and flames were pouring out of all the chimneys. None of us slept that night. It was no longer possible to believe, even to yourself, that the stories were not really true. All that we had heard and guessed was now before our eyes. Here were the death factories.
Max Heller, Clara Heller, Gisela Molnar, Sander Molnar, Baila Hirschberg, Matthias Hirschberg, Rushla Erzel, Fawel Erzel, Schlasma Urbach, Hirsch Urbach, Tauba Urbach, David Josef Urbach, Sau Urbach,
Hila Freila Urbach, Leah Fela Urbach, Nuchim Mordecai Urbach, Rushla Golda Urbach, Sarah Urbach, Chil Urbach, Zeman Urbach, Nuchim Urbach, Fagla Urbach, Perla Urbach, Farmita Urbach,
Moshe Yom Tov Sustrial, Adela Sustrial, Agene Sustrial Brido, Emmanuel Brido, Sustrial Children,
Selma Hambach,
Heinrich Heinbach,
Simke Sachs, Rivka Sachs, Burrell Sachs, Zissy Sachs, Nachman Sachs, Hannah Sachs, Aaron Sachs, Hannah Shurhai, Joel Dove Sachs, Bendi Sachs, Leah Chidak, Chitel Sachs,
Ossia Josef Abraham, Sigmund Selig Kuhn, Ida Kuhn, Heinrich Herbst, Carolina Herbst, Elsa Zimak, Denny Zimak, Abraham Humberg, Emma Humberg,
Adolf
Gerda
Humberg,
Feist,
Raphael
Fanny
Jemann,
Kaufmann,
Karl Jemann, David Jemann, Hannah Matle Seibner, Reike Seibner, Babi Seibner, Mindra Seibner, Schüllem Seibner, Flandler Seibner, Dota Frandler Seibner, Schienler Seibner, Josef Seibner.
I was in Germany with the Royal Air Force at the end of the war when we were asked by other British forces to assist in opening some of the concentration camps in the region. As we approached Bergen-Belsen, we were assaulted by an indescribable stench which reached us a few miles away from the gates. Once inside the camp, we saw piles of corpses, the emaciated survivors, and the ghost-like victims dying in front of our eyes. On confronting the horrors of the camps, we were glad to be of help, even at this late stage, and all of us felt our military service had been worthwhile. On meeting survivors like Susie and Tommy, I would do it all again.
We had been liberated. I was no longer only a number doomed to die in a Nazi gas chamber, a prisoner without the right to life. Germany had been defeated. Once again, I was an ordinary girl. True, I was different from other girls my age, very different in many ways, but I was free.
In all cases of genocide, people have been targeted because of their ethnicity, sexual orientation, religious and cultural affiliations. The Holocaust is the name given to one specific case of genocide that was unprecedented in its totality. The attempt to destroy the Jewish people of Europe and all traces of Jewish culture, history, and even memory. By the end of the Holocaust, 6 million Jewish men, women, and children had been murdered in ghettos, mass shootings, concentration camps, and in death camps. The genocide of the Roma took place during the Holocaust, as did the murder of thousands of others who were victims of Nazi atrocities. Genocide is not a single event in time, but a gradual process that begins when discrimination, racism, and hatred are not checked, when people are denied their human rights and their civil rights. For this reason, it is important that we respect one another, and when we see injustice, we speak out.
When we were growing up, we were the only 4 girls in our local school who could spell Czechoslovakia correctly. Our father, Zoltan, came from that country. We have got used to having very small families, at least from one side. No grandparents, no uncles, no aunts. We have been born with the title second generation, and this brings with it an important responsibility: to transmit the memory of the Holocaust to future generations. But we can also rejoice in our own lives, in our own families, our children and our grandchildren. Hitler did not win. One or both of our parents survived. We are here, living our lives, looking forward to the future.